this video journal, I will start working on the side reinforcement braces to glue into the inside of the sides and the kerfing. So keep watching. Well, with the sides bent and the blocks on, it's time to start working on the side reinforcement braces for this walnut build. The side reinforcement braces are actually there's two styles. We have the kerfing and then the side reinforcement braces themselves. Now I do my kerfing and my side reinforcement braces a little differently than I used to and a little differently than some other people do. Traditionally, the kerfing is installed in one long strip around the side of the guitar, and then the side reinforcement braces are placed in between, like we have here. Kerfing is one long strip, and then the side reinforcement braces are installed. This presents two challenges, though, for me as a guitar builder. And I'll use this rosewood body here as an example. The first problem I have is when I try to install a piece of binding that's one long strip, the binding itself, which is curved, bends easily in this direction. But it doesn't bend in this direction, up and down. Since my sides already have somewhat of a taper in it, if I start with one long strip and I start flush with my body down here at this end, then by the time I reach the top where the sides have kind of dropped away where that profile is, I end up with this much of my binding sticking up, which I'd have to sand down, and that's going to give me a real uneven look on the inside. The other problem is that when I install a strip of binding that's one long strip like here, and then install my side reinforcement braces in between, I have a little weak spot right here and right here. My side reinforcement braces serve two purposes. One is to stiffen the sides, and the other one is to protect the really thin 2.5 millimeter piece of rosewood from just breaking in half should it suffer trauma. So what I do is I install my side reinforcement braces on the instrument first. And then I go back and install the kerfing in between those side reinforcement braces. This does two things for my builds. It gives me a nice long reinforcement for the sides, stiffens the sides, and allows me to install my kerfing in little short sections, which are much easier to fit in between those areas where the body curves. Well, I have my sides mounted in a different work mold now. This is the mold I'm going to be using when I install the side reinforcement braces and the kerfing. First thing I want to do is just make sure everything is smooth on the inside and sand it down. With everything sanded down, the next step I need to do is to go ahead and mark where my back brace locations are going to line up with this side set. To do that, I've got to take it out of this mold and clamp the back to the sides so that I can mark where those locations are. Well, I've clamped the back to the sides and placed it on my 15-foot radius dish so I can get around it. And I've got just one little clamp down the center that I've clamped down the center line of my block just to make sure that my center lines on my blocks are lining up, and they are. So I can really just go ahead and take this clamp off now. Now I want to mark the location of my back braces where they meet on the sides. So I'm just going to take one of them and then scribe on either side of it with a little blue pencil. Now I can start laying out and cutting to length my side reinforcement braces. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and mark where the arm bevel block is going to be on this instrument. So this is the back, this is the top, so the arm bevel is going to be right down here. The arm bevel starts 5 inches from the bottom center of the guitar. And I've placed a little blue pencil mark right here so I know what that is. And this is just a little vinyl template that I've made and that I've used on all my other builds to position where that arm bevel is going to be. And this is actually part of the side that will be cut out later on in the build process. I'm just going to mark its location. Now I can start cutting to length my side reinforcement strips. Well, these are my side reinforcement braces. They're made out of spruce scraps from tops. They are straight grain quarter sawn spruce. They're about 3 millimeters thick and about 5/16 or 7.4 millimeters wide. And they're going to be cut to the length of the sides around the inside of the guitar, which is going to range anywhere from 4 to 4 3/4 inches. And I don't want them just perfectly square, so I'm going to round over those outside edges just a little bit by running them through this little block, sanding block that I made by simply drilling a hole through a piece of wood and then cutting it in half and installing a piece of sandpaper on the inside. It's time to go ahead and start cutting my side reinforcement braces to length and putting them on the guitar where they're going to be. Now down here I've got my brace location right there, but I don't know how far my arm bevel block is going to come down, so I'm not going to cut this brace right now, but I will go ahead and cut this one. A little bit out of camera shot, but I've just got a little miter box set up over here in a small razor saw. I'm going to start with lining it up with my blue line marks that I made previously. And then I'm going to index from the top. The top of the guitar is flat, so I can lay my angle on it and make sure that I've got that brace up and down centered the way I want it to be. Well, I've gotten all of my side reinforcement braces cut, trimmed to length, and temporarily clamped to the sides where they need to be. And I just need to go ahead and start gluing those on. The clamps are thin spruce and they'll bow a little bit in the middle, so I have made some clear plastic or clear acrylic, fairly thick cawls that I'm going to use to put on there. This will also protect the soft spruce from the clamps so they don't get marks in them. Now, in order to index everything properly, I have a little, it's just a little piece of acrylic with a spacer board on the bottom. I'm just going to slide up next to the brace where it's supposed to be. And that way I won't have to worry about finding my position again. And just a little bit of glue. With my brace glued up, I could just lay it against my guide. Place one of my cawls on there. Okay, put that in position. I can remove my positioning cawl and clean up some of that glue squeeze out. That's kind of a long clamp. I want to go ahead and put some clamping pressure here in the center too. So I'm just going to take one of these larger clamps, squeeze it on in there, stick it right there, and the same on the other side. There we go. Okay, there's one clamp down. I will just continue on with this process till I get them all done. Okay, well, I'm just going to continue this process by leapfrogging each one of these braces till I get them all glued on both sides. Well, it's the next day, and I've done one side of the side reinforcement braces on the 3-piece walnut build, and I've gotten the last 3 on the bottom side done. I've got one left to do, and I thought I'd just do a little close-up of this one to show you how all this works. I'm indexing off the top so I can make sure that I've got the side braces parallel. And then I'm just going to take this little clamping brace here and move it down so I can take the brace and put a little glue on it. And then I can rest it right on that guide. Then I have this clear acrylic that's fairly thick clamping caul that I'm going to put on here. Since the spruce is soft, I don't want the clamps to make dents in them. And it helps also to distribute the clamping pressure. Now I can remove my positioning guide and do a little bit of glue cleanup before I put the rest of the clamps on. Now that I've got that cleaned up a little bit, I'm going to put a little bit larger clamp. This one's been on here for a while, so I'm going to just use this one. Not get any glue squeeze out, so that's good. And then clean up the last little bit of this glue squeeze out. Okay, I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll be able to go on to the next step on this side set. I'll have all of my side reinforcement braces glued on, except for the ones that are going to go where the arm bevel block will be. So the next step after this will be, once these dry, I'll put it in a separate mold and put it on the radius dish and radius the back to the 15-foot radius. Then I can start working on the kerfing. While I'm waiting for the side reinforcement braces to dry on the walnut build, I'm going to go ahead and use the rosewood build that I've been working on simultaneously to prepare my kerfing so that I can glue it onto the walnut when it gets done. And for how I make kerfings, I'll put a link to the video that I made previously down below in the sections there. But what I'm going to do with these kerfings is I'm just going to spritz them with water. And then I'm going to take them and I am going to place them on the guitar body here. Just kind of get them pre-bent a little bit. When they dry, they'll hold that shape a little bit better, and it'll make it easier for me to cut them into little segments and put them on the guitar. Okay, and when those dry, I'll be able to cut them in segments. Well, I'll stop this video journal here. I've gotten all of the side reinforcement braces glued on. The next step will be to radius the back and then to start working on gluing on the kerfing. There is a link down below to video journal 31, which is the one where I show how I make kerfing. If you'd like to support the channel, there's a link down below for that as well. And thank you all so much for watching.